The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media operations.
We let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime Directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
Man, when I get home from work, all Betty does is watch her reality TV and then she goes to sleep. I can take her on romantic dates, I get her flowers, you name it. She's just not the woman I married.
Oh, Ralph, that's just awful.
Does this seem familiar? Are the honeymoon days of your relationship long gone? If so, consider this: the abundance of chemical additives, pesticides, BPA containers, contaminated tap water, and other toxic substances found in our environment. Experts know our bodies are suffering and being thrown off balance, especially when it comes to your natural systems. Forget synthetic chemicals. Super Female Vitality brings forward key herbs specifically chosen for women's biology without the use of phony additives. Get your bottle of Super Female Vitality today at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call 1-888-253-3139. InfoWarsLife.com. Live life healthy.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. Most people know that iodine deficiency has been a crisis around the world. Iodine is key to so many of the body's functions, especially the thyroid. I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group. You now know it as Survival Shield, true nascent iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating, and the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLife.com. Aborted babies incinerated to heat UK hospitals. Soylent Green, ladies and gentlemen, is made out of people.
But now children are literally being passed through the furnace in order to fuel hospitals in the UK. They're being sacrificed on the altar of efficiency and prosperity.
What is the secret of Soylent Green?
The powdered flesh from dead babies. Some people believe they can cure disease.
Because of its enormous popularity, Soylent Green is in short supply. Remember, Tuesday is Soylent Green Day.
The supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted. You must evacuate the area. Today is Tuesday!
The federal court ruled that the shareholders of PepsiCo, big Bilderberg Group company, are not allowed to know what they're using the baby parts for in the flavoring, but we already know. So enjoy the flavor.
We're going to get the real solution, which is going to be a combination of death panels and sales taxes.
I'm consistently pro-death. I'm for assisted suicide. I'm for regular suicide. I'm for whatever gets the freeway moving.
Is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion.
They told me to say that they were sorry, but that you had become unreliable.
Is this the kind of society that you want to live in? Any kind of society that would do this to its children will do it to its senior citizens. It will do it to its dissidents. That kind of society will also eventually turn on its police, on its army, on its prison guards, on the quislings and the collaborators who make that possible. This is nothing but a suicide cult.
The scoops are on their way. The scoops are on their way. I repeat, the scoops are on their way.
You will find out why Soylent Green means life. You will find out why Soylent Green means death. We gotta stop them!
What is the secret of Soylent Green?
Soylent Green is people!
Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them.
Thank you, Chuck Heston. That's from Soylent Green, a little piece Darren McBreen put together. When we talk about dehumanization, using babies to heat hospitals around the world, teaching us that humans have no value, this is the culture of death. And if you look at the Nazi orphanages, if you look at the Soviet orphanages, the Chinese orphanages, the South Korean, the North Korean orphanages, the African orphanages, the Latin American orphanages, the U.S. orphanages, the Mexican orphanages, it's just literal hell on earth, children being abused in the worst conditions you can imagine. And then if you spank your kid, even though it's not against the law, they take your kid, throw them in one of these things. They're in these foster homes. And I'm not saying all foster parents are bad. It, on average, is better than a big orphanage system. But what you see at places like Penn State is only the tip of the iceberg. And, of course, it came out it was university-wide. He was raping children in broad daylight at noon in the middle of the week in the showers. That's busier than a four-way stop in a major city, you know, a football field house. Because for these sickos, they want to do it out in the open. That's what psychopaths, control freaks, and sadists do. They get off on it being out in the open. Flaunting shutting down our power plants. Flaunting shipping guns to Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. Flaunting the 130,000 dead in Mexico, mass graves found everywhere, 99% killed by Mexican on Mexican drug cartel stuff, men, women, and children dead. And then Robert Rodriguez shows Don Johnson shooting pregnant Mexican women in the stomach with a rifle, and everybody then blames that on white people. So that's how this works, ladies and gentlemen. And there's a Tony Cartalucci article about the reports coming out in Ukraine about harvesting of children's organs. And, you know, about 5 years ago during the whole Gaza thing, I saw reports in major German newspapers about Israeli doctors shooting Palestinian kids and then keeping them alive to take their organs. I didn't believe it. And then it turned out it was true. And then you learn, basically, any war zone this is going on, because it's not the U.S. Army or the Israeli Army or even NATO. You know, the head of Interpol says arm the general public. Probably a good guy. But it's compartments. So when you have a war, it's trillions of no-bid contracts that have been spent in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's the contractors, and I'm not even saying all of them. It's the special contractor groups, the diplomatic community, UN teams. And you see this with the UN sex scandals everywhere they go, and little kids being loaded on planes to be flown to Saudi Arabia and Asia. And you learn every government's involved in, every major government, in snuff films and trafficking. And I mean, it is so hellish that no one can stop it because no one wants to admit it. It's like when former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney asked the head of the Pentagon, Rumsfeld, this famous video online, type in Rumsfeld grilled by McKinney, it'll come up. And she says, what do you want to say about the UN and DynCorp kidnapping little boys and girls and flying them out to secret locations? And he said, well, we put them in the penalty box and fined them. And then she pulls up the document. You didn't even fine them. You learn DynCorp runs the private CPS in most states. Now, if you're wealthy or middle class and know what to do, you can get the lawyers, get whatever, and stop this. There's private groups, you know, divorces, you name it. The general public doesn't get that. And so the reason I raise all this as a backdrop is This is all going on, but people don't know it. Just like the new numbers are 500,000 people, they believe, are dying of flesh-eating bacteria or drug-resistant bugs in the U.S. alone. It's probably the #1 cause of death now. If you add all the numbers together, it's probably more than 500,000. You hardly hear about it, or if you do, it's not an issue. It's killing members of my family left and right. Everybody I know, people are dying. Okay, I mean, it's devastating. You're not going to hear about it. But people think they can't swim because they think great white sharks are going to eat them. I use this analogy 1,000 times. Since Jaws happened, revenue at beach communities in the United States have gone way down since 1972. And they directly know it's because of a movie. It's the same deal. Terrorism isn't real here domestically, it's manufactured. Racism is super rare compared to what they say. There's all this imaginary stuff we're worried about, while meanwhile, they're just scooping our kids up everywhere. And in England, it's epidemic where the kids just disappear. Americans that visit England now, I know some of them, they just grab your kids for no reason. They come to the door. Someone said they saw you spank your child in the lobby. We're taking them into custody. We're deporting you. Your kid's name has changed. You never see him. They get dug up as a skeleton at the Royal Palace, literally. Latest headline, powerful elite of at least 20 establishment figures may have been part of pedophile ring that abused children for decades. And see, because the elite are into that, they can burn any of themselves anytime they want. I'm digressing, but I want to explain something. The elite want global control to abuse children. Now, you can believe David Icke that they're possessed by blood-drinking aliens. Doesn't matter. They might as well be blood-drinking aliens. You can believe the Bible, they're possessed by demons. If that's not true, doesn't matter. Archetypally, they are demons. It's real no matter what angle you see it. We're faced with an army of pure evil. And I get psyched up and get wild here on air because I realize it. I'm a very sensitive person, folks. And I've intellectually studied them, but I can spiritually feel them. And I don't like having to focus on them. But you know what? We've gotten to this point because we've ignored it. Now, here's some headlines from just this week. An Irish Catholic orphanage hid the bodies of 800 children found buried in a mass grave in a septic tank. And that was really just a state-run institution. And they just call it a Catholic orphanage. I'm not Catholic. I'm not even defending it, but these are like political cutouts. Organ harvesting in Ukraine goes unreported. That's out of Salon, the article on the dead kids. Here's RT, mass baby grave scandal pushes Irish government Catholic Church towards inquiry. And again, folks, they were killing the little children in secret biotest is what's come out. And then putting them into a giant vat of human crap. Can't make it. How satanic is that? Murder the little children with bioweapons, testing them like Dr. Mengele, and then inserting them into a huge septic tank. Almost 800 babies buried in septic tank. There you go, headline. So that's some of it. Now, shifting gears to our next guest, who was almost like 7 years ago. When I saw it, I'd already heard of him, but then I saw it in the Toronto Star. Some of it was confirmed. I had him on. More has been confirmed since then. I appreciate him coming on during a heavy news day. We pushed him back some. We're going to have him back on again soon. 28 mass graves of Indian children in Canada discovered. Daily Kos picked this up in 2008 when it was being reported by the local news channels there. And again, it ties into the British government yet again. And joining us on the show is Kevin Annett. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's been on before. We appreciate you coming on. ITCCS.org, ITCCS.org. And maybe Nancy Pelosi can come pick some of those kids up and keep them at her house, the little skeletons, because, you know, she says she wants to take the illegals with her, but doesn't really take them. It's all talk. And Clinton keeps half the money for the African kids and the Haitian kids for himself to buy jets with, but nobody criticizes him for that. Well, an inquiry's now starting, as folks have been. Sir, thank you so much for your tireless work the last decade to expose this. Tell us the latest and how this ties into what I see as the, whatever's running it, governments are obsessed with annihilating small children.
That's right, Alex. Thanks for having me on. It has to do with the second round of common law trials happening in Brussels. The first one is when we convicted Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, in 2013. The second round of trials has to do with global child trafficking, and the present Pope, Jorge Bergoglio, is named as the primary defendant